This video is part of the Road2 Advanced Terrain Modeling group exercise on how to create a terrain by using alternate surface. Okay, the first step in the exercise says open the Perry County folder, the job J9P3093, and in there you have the data folder, and then there's a file called corridors_J9P3093.dgn. I've already got the file open. I'm in it. I have the 2D on the left side, and we have the 3D model on the right side, what's been created. And just we're going to talk about the reviewing the whole project setup that we've got here. We have a main line which runs kind of west to east here. That is your AC. That's your main line corridor. You also have a side road here. This one is TG, and that has a corridor with template drops of its own. In this little intersection area, you're going to see that there's two linear templates, and they're in the radius return area, and they all connect and meld into the whole intersection of the ACTG intersection. So the first thing I want to do is kind of go over the template that I'm using. So I'm going to go out to the end of AC where I can see my template drop handle, and I'm going to go ahead and select it and bring up my heads up display and select the edit template drop tool. Okay, so the template drops opened up, and all we have here really is pavement, some shoulders, a couple of ditches, and a fill slope. So that's basically what we're doing here. What I want to do is show you how the alternate surface works. So if I go down to the tabs at the bottom on the left side, you'll see there's a library and active template. Now we opened up the template drop straight from the corridor. When you do that, you're going to see a path up here in the top for the library. Pay no attention to it, means nothing. This is a single instance of that template drop that we've opened. Okay, so down here at the library and active template, I'm going to go ahead and select active template. When you do this, you've got some options on the left side. What I want to do is I want to open up my alternate surfaces folder. This is a really good piece of information on this left side where you've got your points and your components and your display rules and condition branches, your parametric constraints. You can open these up and look at them. The one I'm really concerned about is my alternate surfaces, because I'm going to create this surface using the points in here to create that alternate surface. Okay, so when I open it up, you'll see that there's a proposed finished grade and there's also a subgrade. If I select the proposed finished grade just by left clicking on it, you'll see in the template area, the preview, you'll see that the points have this little blue square around the points that it's going to create a surface of. So it's going to go out on any of our proposed finished grade and create that surface. Now let's say I want the subgrade instead of the proposed finished grade. I can select the subgrade, and that will come out and that will select all the subgrade pieces or points that have the alternate surface assigned to it. Okay, so that's how this works, and you can create alternate surfaces by picking whatever points you want. Now if I go back to the library portion of it, and if I just double click on one of these points, you're going to see there's an alternate surface entry, and you can either have it on proposed finished grade, subgrade, or you can key in a new name of something that you want to create for a different surface. So that's how it's picking this up. Each point that we use for the proposed finished grade has an alternate surface with that proposed finished grade attached to it. Okay, so once all those points have that on there, you can see that. And then when you go back over to the active template, once again you open up that alternate surfaces, select proposed finished grade, and all those points that have that toggled on with that surface will highlight. Okay, so that's going over to template. I want to make sure you understand how that works. Again, you can create new ones just by inputting a name. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. I didn't do anything to the template. So we're going to create a surface out of all this. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new 3D file to create that surface. So I'll do a file new, and it's a 3D file, so I will have to set up the seed file. So I'll hit seed, go out to my CAD standards folder, go to my seed files, design English, and I'm looking for that 3D Power Geopack seed file because surfaces are contained in 3D files. It's going to ask me read only, and we've all been through this 100 times, so we'll say yes, we want to open it anyway. And then the name for this, I'm going to call this, what the exercise calls for is terrain proposed job number. So we'll type that in. And now with the new upgrade of project-wise, you can see that we don't have to input the file name. But if you wanted to get a description, you could do that too. I'll just call it. And we'll hit OK and open up the new file. Check in the old file. And the first thing I want to do is reference in my corridors file, and I want the 2D view is what I want, and the existing terrain. So in step 5, that's what it calls for. So I'm going to go to the reference icon, go to the tools, attach, verify I'm in the right data folder, which I believe I am, 3093 data, and then I'm going to grab the terrain existing and the corridors and add them to the list. Select the OK button. This will bring us to the attachments. I'm doing the default on both of them. Then I'll do a fit view in the background, and you can see now we have our corridors file and our terrain existing referenced in. First thing I want to do is I'm going to hit the F4 key. I'm going to select that terrain and make sure it's active. We want to set that as active. Another thing, a note that's in the step is if I zoom in, I can look at my corridors, and I can see that in this corridor, these are preliminary corridors, design stage. You can see that because they're green. Now, if they were red, that'd be final. And again, what the design stage does is it drops our templates closer. The preliminary design stage is a multiplier by 10, so whatever your template drops are, it'll multiply it by 10, and if we were at final, it would be a multiplier by 1. So if we're doing 25-foot template drops, then it would be every 25 foot. But right now I can see that it's actually in a design stage of preliminary, so depending upon what my template drops are, it's multiplied by 10. The note is just stating that it'll work with any design stage. So if you want to create an alternate surface, you can do it at any design stage. More than likely, you'd probably want to do it at a final, so you've got less interpolation going on. Okay, so that's step 5. Step 6 says to select the corridor alternate surface tool. And to do that, we'll go over to the tasks on the left side and open up our civil tools. And we're going to go down to our terrain modeling group. Open that up. And then we're going to look for the alternate surface icon, which, there it is. Create corridor alternate surfaces. So the last tool on the toolbar if you have them stretched out as far as I do. Okay. So we'll click it. It says locate the corridor, and we want to look at that AC corridor. So we're going to go ahead and select it, and we'll wait. And you can see in the bottom right, it's processing. And this takes a little bit of time to create, but there you go. You can see the surface in white has been created all through here for AC. You can see we got some bogus triangles. We're going to fix all that. Okay. So now it's asking to locate the corridor again. We're just going to go ahead and select the F4 key to get out of that tool. And then in the instructions in step number 7, it says detach all reference files and rotate the view. Select yes below to break the rules back to the reference files. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to go to our reference tool out here. We're going to bring that up, our reference icon. And then we're just going to do a detach all. It's going to say, you want to do this? We're going to say yes. It's going to tell us this reference has probable dependencies in the current civil model. Detaching this reference will break relationships in the element rules, which may be permanent. Are you sure you want to detach it? We do want to detach it. We want to make sure there's no rules back to the original stuff. So we're going to hit yes. And we're going to hit yes for the second one. And then now you can see all the references are gone. And we're left with that alternate surface that we created. Okay. So step number 8 says there are 2 alternate surfaces created. We have an AC finished proposed grade, and we have the subgrade. So what we want to do in step 8 is we're going to go ahead and set the proposed finished grade feature definition to design triangles. So what we'll do is we'll come out here and we'll select it. Make sure we're on the right one. It says AC proposed finished grade. So we're going to go to our properties. There's no feature definition assigned, so we're going to hit the pull down. We're going to go to terrain display, and we're going to set it as design triangles. So that one is right here. When you do that, it's going to process. You're going to see it's yellow now. Okay. The other thing that you might want to do, and it depends on how you want to do it, is get rid of some of these bogus triangles. One way to do it is open up the properties, and right now it's on slivers. If we change our edge method to max triangle length and give it something more reasonable, maybe 150 or something like that, you'll see that you get rid of a lot of the bogus triangles. It cuts it down. Okay. Okay, so the next step in step 9 says rotate the view so we can see the end of our alternate surfaces. So if you go up and use the view rotation tool, and again with that is the big trick with this is grabbing that crosshair and snapping to an element. And once you let go of it, then it allows you to zoom in on that point, and you can just left click and hold the mouse down and rotate about that crosshair, and you can see we have 2 surfaces out there. We actually have our proposed finished grade. That's the one that's highlighted. And then we have this subsurface. So we've got that going. Now we have that subgrade in there, and we want to maybe not have it in this this terrain. We can go ahead and get rid of it, and you can get rid of it a couple different ways. You can select it and get rid of it, delete it, or you can go over to the Project Explorer under the Civil Model tab, open up the Civil Model file or the terrain proposed file, and then you'll see terrain models in here. And if you open that up, you'll see the 2 terrain models that we created. We want to keep the AC proposed finished grade, so we'll just simply click on the terrain model, right click on it, and then do a delete to get rid of that surface, and it's gone. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is rotate to a top view. So we've rotated around and looked at some things. So that tool's still the view rotation, rotate view tool. You just simply come to the method, change it from dynamic to top, and we'll do a fit view, which will center everything in my window. Now, step 12 says even though the reference files were detached, the terrain model AC still has rules applied. Use the terrain model heads-up tools and drop the rules to the AC terrain model. Okay, so we're going to zoom in a little bit, hit the F4 key, get our heads-up display, go to the ruler, and we are going to remove the rule. Now it's not attached to the other one. Now, there's step number 13 says we can edit the terrain model using the edit terrain model tools, and if you change your edge method like I did, that works for a lot of distances and stuff, and you can get some stuff out, but there still might be some areas that are still triangles that are been created, you can't get them out. So you could use some of the other tools to get rid of them. Under the tasks terrain model, you'll see a tool in here, and it's the edit terrain model tools that you can open up. In here we've got a delete vertex, a delete edge triangle, swap line, insert vertex, move vertex, delete triangle by line, and delete feature. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to hit F4. I'm going to go ahead and change this back to slivers just to show you how this works. Okay, now we can see we got some really bad triangles out here, but that's good. I wanted to show you how these other tools work. So under tasks, I'll go back to that edit terrain model tool, and you could delete a vertex, and that's just simply just by going out, finding the vertex and getting rid of it. You can delete an edge triangle, which works as well. You just got to pick the edge triangle you want to get rid of and then accept it, and you can do it like so to get rid of all these bogus triangles we have out there. You can also swap a line. You can take a line and swap it, and it'll swap through back and forth. So you can do that. Another thing you can do is insert a vertex. Maybe we want to see another vertex here, and you could just kind of select that line, your edge of your triangle, and insert that vertex, and then right click when you're finished. But you can add as many as you want. You can also move a vertex. Maybe you don't like where it was, you select it, accept it, and then move it to where you want it. You can delete a triangle by line just by dragging a line through them. And this is probably the coolest one of the bunch because you can go pretty far with it, and once it sees that boundary line, it won't cross it, so it'll just do the triangles, and you can clean it up pretty quick using this tool. It's probably the best tool in the box, so you can go around and clean that up. And the other one's a delete feature. You can take a feature off of here and change it to something else. So let's look at the notes at the bottom of after step number 13. It says we can create a terrain by alternate surface. When you do that, it can only process one corridor at a time, and you can see we did the AC corridor, so it can only do one at a time. The create corridor alternate surface tool works with reference corridors. In other words, you don't need to be in the corridors file for the tool to work, and that's what we did here. We referenced in our corridor and created it. The alternate surface tool, with the alternate surfaces, to get the end conditions to draw the target of the end conditions, typically existing ground must be present and active, and that's what we did. We brought in our terrain existing, we made it active. That helps with drawing to the end condition, or drawing the end condition drawn to surface. The terrain edit tools can modify the newly created terrain models from the alternate surfaces tool only after the rules have been dropped. Had I not dropped the rules, all bets are off. I would not have been able to delete these triangles. Okay. Alternate surfaces do have rules back to the original corridor and template. When you remove the rules from the terrain model, you break the link to the corridor, and that means that it's not synced anymore. So if you want to create another alternate surface and your corridor's changed, you'd have to create a new one. But that pretty much sums up the video on advanced terrain modeling, creating a terrain by alternate surface.